That was perfect.
Was it perfect?
Yeah, it was absolutely perfect.
Wonderful. I'm happy that it was perfect.
I am apathetic.
Empathetic or apathetic?
Apathetic, but apathetic leaning sympathetic.
Those two things are contradictory.
They're not just contradictory, they're mutually exclusive.
That is also true, yes.
Unless there's two of me talking at once.
So, trying to remember the setup that we had for this.
What, you mean the fact that I have a giant headache, so maybe we should go ahead and just talk about the Ocasio-Cortez thing instead of Jurassic World Part 2, Fallen Kingdom?
Right, because the Ocasio-Cortez thing is probably less likely to, I think it was the other way around, wasn't it?
No, not at all.
Okay, then you got it right. All right.
This might be better than trying to relive the joke.
This is what happens when we try to relive jokes. Everything fails.
This is why we should be recording everything we say at all times. So
all the time.
Get on the NSA about that. I'm sure they have that info.
I think they're already on it.
They're on it.
They're on it. So you saw Jurassic World 2. Is that the name of the movie that you saw?
Well, it's called Jurassic World: The Fallen Kingdom, and it is the best title you could have possibly given for a movie that is like the destruction of the Jurassic Park franchise.
Do you think they realized that when they were naming it?
I hope so, because, I've seen The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
And Jurassic World, so much worse.
That's amazing, honestly.
It's really, really, really hard to make a worse movie than that without trying, and they did it.
They pulled it off.
I didn't even look at who the director was. I meant to before we sat down and talked, but it was like, it doesn't matter. Because someone somewhere is going to give this person a job again, and I don't know what that says about the fate of the world. So, shall we talk about a bad movie?
Well, let's talk about a bad movie.
All right. I want to just clear up one thing right from the get-go.
Dinosaurs aren't real.
They never existed. They're just a fantasy invented by Steven Spielberg, or maybe it was Stephen King, or maybe it was Stephen Hawking. Stephen something. It was a
fantasy written up by the Bible in which Jesus rode dinosaurs.
Yes, that's how I like to remember history.
That's how I remember history. Incorrectly.
Alright, but the truth is dinosaurs may have been very real, but this movie was not.
Sure. Well, the movie was real in the sense that it is a thing that is actually existing.
Well, there's a difference between real and surreal. One of them is knighted.
Well, I mean...
Is this just going to be a bunch of witty banter and not talking about the movie? I think we could do that instead.
Isn't the witty banter usually the best part?
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So let's just keep it flowing normally.
Well, I mean, nobody listens to us as it is, so I mean, if they're going to...
Hey, someday they might, and when they do, by gum, they will hear the witty banter that they've been not waiting for.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't seen a Jurassic Park movie since the third one that came out in, like, early 2000s or something like that?
Yeah, and getting back to that, so the first thing I want to point out is that... Do you remember... Like I only saw Jurassic Park, The Lost World once, and nobody really liked that one. And nowadays people are like, "Oh man, that was a terrible, terrible movie to follow up the original with."
It was all right. It wasn't great. It wasn't terrible.
Well,
it was
I mean, a lot of people,
means...
a lot of people they saw it when they were younger, and then going back and trying to watch it again, it's like, wow, that was kind of ridiculous, really.
Well, the thing about Jurassic World that was, I don't know. I mean, or not Jurassic World, I mean The Lost World, is that they shoehorned in, like, characters that weren't really interesting and made them, more important to the story than they really probably should have been. Yeah.
Of course, I have to say that out of all the characters in the movie, the hunter was probably the only one that got any A, development, and B, interest in me watching, but, I mean... You can't really take a character like Ian Malcolm, like he was in the original Jurassic Park, where he was there to be a cerebral counterpoint to a couple of characters, and then they stuff him in another movie as a main character as more of, well, not just like an action
as
character, but there's that too. But now he's taking on an action role while simultaneously being. I think that movie was supposed to be about how terrible a father he was.
That's probably part of it.
It seemed like most of it, because there really wasn't much else going on with the story. It was kind of like people just stumbling into plot.
Yeah.
But I read the second novel before the second movie came out, and I'm sitting in the theater expecting the second novel, and then they throw that at me, and it's just one of them things where the first movie was really popular, so let's go ahead and capitalize on that. But here's the thing. The thing. After watching Fallen Kingdom, like 3 days later, I jumped on Netflix and started watching The Lost World.
The movie?
Yes. That movie is so good if you watch it after Fallen Kingdom.
Oh, wow.
But the thing is, it's like that movie gets it's one of those movies that like people like to hate because everyone else hates it. But honestly, it
just didn't measure up to the first one.
Yeah, it didn't measure up to the first one. It was okay as a movie on its own. There were some ridiculous... obviously everyone thought the gymnastics was ridiculous, but it was one scene, and it lasted 5 seconds.
That's fair. I thought the whole... I don't know. I haven't seen that movie in like 15 years or more.
Yeah, I've only seen it twice. I saw it in the theater, and I just the other day watched it again, and it's really funny too, because I'd forgotten just how old the movie was, because the movie starts out and there's people are working on cube monitors, old computers, like box computers, and I'm like, wow, this movie really was that old, huh? But yeah, it's worlds better than the new one, and honestly, the first one is the only one that's really a masterpiece. The third one is my second favorite because it's kind of like a Die Hard movie. It's not great like the first one was, but the action was nonstop, and I can live with that.
Sure. What was the third one called?
The third one, I think it was just called Jurassic Park 3. I really don't remember.
I may have never seen it, honestly. I think I gave up after The Lost World.
It was fun because, so the first 3 movies did something that neither The Lost World nor Fallen Kingdom have been able to figure out. And it's that they made the dinosaurs feel like they were part of the story. Whereas the new movies are just like, hey, here's some dinosaurs. It's like, you get to see dinosaurs on screen. Isn't that amazing? It's like, no, that's not what made it amazing. There was an element of, human versus nature in these.
So plot is kind of what you're worried about here, is that the old movies had what you might call a plot.
Well, the new movies had a plot. They just, they weren't good. It's like my day-to-day life has a plot. It's like, I need to go to work and finish the workday today, but that doesn't make it interesting.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
So I think the biggest problem with Fallen Kingdom is that they try to almost scene for scene copy scenes out of the original Jurassic Park and make a movie out of it.
Oh my god. You mean like in The Last Jedi?
No, so much worse. Like in The Last Jedi, you could probably sit through it and be like, oh, that's kind of similar, and that's kind of similar. And there were a couple of scenes where it's like you had to think about it for a minute to remember.
Uh-huh.
You could not have mistaken these scenes. There's do you remember in the original Jurassic Park? And I'm sure you do, because you don't forget scenes like this from that movie.
Yeah.
Where they first show up in the park and they're driving those Jeeps, and they stop and see the brachiosaur for the first time, and they're just dumbfounded. They get out of the vehicles, and Alan Grant is having trouble standing, and they're just watching it walk by. You get the nice Jurassic Park music, and then as it pans out, you see that scene of all these different dinosaurs herding along this valley.
Yeah, I remember that, yes.
So this movie didn't just want to redo these scenes for itself and try and make it something of its own. And it was one of those things where, hey, you remember this scene from this movie? Check it out. We're going to do that too to instill some sense of nostalgia in you. And the real effect was more like a sense of, I want to vomit at how poorly they're trying to ruin how hard they're trying to ruin a significant part of my childhood.
I dread all of this.
Yeah. The very first scene where they did it, I was just like, oh my god, this movie is going to be a train wreck. And that's kind of like what it was. It's kind of like they took the train that was the first Jurassic Park, mixed up all the cars, and then rammed them into the side of a mountain. So they did the Brachiosaur scene, and it's like this military group.
But hold on a minute. Just give me a second here. What is the backstory of Jurassic World? Because does it take place after the Jurassic Park movies in the same canonical universe, or is it a different thing?
It takes place in the same canonical universe.
Okay.
But
So here's a problem. Here's a problem I'm already going to bring up. The world has already seen brachiosaurs hurting. Why is this interesting now?
I was going to get to that, and since you brought it to the forefront, let's go ahead and...
Let's just hit that quick.
Let's just... So the first movie, it's a small group of people that have seen it for the first time.
Yes.
Fast forward to the first Jurassic World movie, where there is now a theme park that the whole world knows about and visits that's full of dinosaurs. Everyone knows the dinosaurs are real now.
Okay.
They kind of knew that after the second movie, but whatever.
Yeah, they know that dinosaurs have been resurrected by mad scientists. They know that already.
Yeah, so now they actually have a park where hundreds, thousands of people have seen dinosaurs now.
Okay.
Why?
Okay, so here's a question for you, just from a pure. Maybe not a question, but I just want to mention something. The awe and joy in Alan Grant's face when he first saw the dinosaurs is more important than the undifferentiated woo of 100,000 random people seeing a dinosaur. Do the movie makers not understand this?
They didn't even come close.
Okay, just checking.
It's the difference. It's the difference between I came to this island expecting something and it wasn't this, and oh my god, this is amazing. And hey everyone, let's get out of a vehicle and look at a dinosaur. It was that bad. Because they're trying to recreate the scene almost like not even just recreate it's similar, but almost frame for frame.
But it sounds like they're recreating that scene and taking out the most important part of that scene, which was the connection.
Oh yeah, no,
that you got with the character.
These people. Okay, first off, you're not going to have any connection with any of the characters in this movie. I'm going to go ahead and spoil that for you right now.
I wasn't expecting any. No, but I mean, am I wrong? Am I crazy here? When you see Alan Grant react to his first sight of a living dinosaur, and you think about because they spent a few minutes in the movie at the beginning, kind of explaining who he was and what his whole life was about, and then you put yourself in his shoes, and he's been studying these things for his entire life, and then suddenly someone brings him to an island, and it's here is a dinosaur, and you can imagine the wellspring of emotion that he must have, that his character felt when that happened, and now they've just reduced it to hey, it's Safari Park, guys.
Well, I mean, it was reduced to that in The Lost World.
No, in The Lost World it wasn't. I'm gonna disagree with you a little bit there, based on what I remember.
I'm sorry, not The Lost World. Jurassic World. See, I keep getting them mixed up. No,
that's fine.
It was already reduced to that in Jurassic World, because they present Jurassic World to you right from the beginning as everyone knows about dinosaurs now. So the wow factor is pretty much gone right from the start. All you're left with
I'm going to stop you right there. They're fucking dinosaurs. There is a wow factor. They're fucking dinosaurs.
Did you see Jurassic World?
No, I stopped after the second one. I think.
So that's why you're not getting what I'm. You don't. You don't.
Can you layer it on a little bit more carefully? Because I'm not feeling it, man.
All right, let me put it like this: Jurassic World was the most, up until this recent movie, the most let's capitalize on Jurassic Park thing that they had ever done, and it wasn't. I mean, it wasn't a good movie, but it wasn't something that you couldn't sit down and watch. Like, you could get through it. It was ridiculous, but it was like, okay, it's just people being chased by dinosaurs. That's what they've reduced Jurassic Park to.
Uh-huh.
You know, there wasn't too much of a theme of anything. Like
the least interesting part of the original movie.
Yeah.
People being chased by dinosaurs.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't have that. Even the second movie had that whole that whole conflict of, here's a group of people that are trying to gather up the dinosaurs, and it has largely a theme of capitalism bad, nature good kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And in the second movie, they addressed that, where it's like, here's a group that is like, oh, you shouldn't be doing this, and here's another group that is like, oh, well, we're going to do this at all costs. But then inside those groups, there's different personalities. Yeah. Unlike the two Jurassic World movies, where within each group of people, that one thinks that this is right and one thinks that it isn't. It's just like everyone on each side of things thinks exactly the same.
It's like politics today.
Yeah. It's a bicameral system.
Yes, that's not what bicameral means.
I know. It's a bicameral saurus.
Bicameral saurus. I like that.
Yeah.
A dinosaur with two houses.
What were we even talking about? I hate this movie so much.
We were just going through, and you were talking about how they were doing scene for scene remakes of the brachiosaur scene.
Oh yeah, so the brachiosaur scene. So you remember how it was like, the dinosaur walking along, and they all saw it and they were all amazed.
Yes, I've already described to you in graphic detail my experience of seeing the dinosaur through Alan Grant's eyes. Yes, I already know what.
When I say, do you remember? You have to remember. I'm talking to the audience at large, which is like you and me. So
you're talking to me right now.
You don't know what's going on inside my head.
This isn't an open forum.
Listen, I'm in a Roman amphitheater when I speak.
You're in an IMAX?
Or an IMAX. Yeah, actually, I should probably stop, because I'm spoiling the movie for these people. Some of them are getting angry.
They're throwing stuff at you.
All right, so we're 17 minutes in, so let me finish describing this very first scene that we're talking about.
Yes, go ahead.
So they're all chugging along in this vehicle. The plan of the movie is that they're going to... All right, see if you can follow me here.
Okay.
It's not hard to follow, but it hurts. There's a volcano on the island where all the dinosaurs are, and it's going to erupt and kill all the dinosaurs.
Okay.
The woman from the first movie that was running Jurassic World, whatever capacity she was in, I don't think they ever really said if she was a CEO or anything, but she was running the park.
Okay.
She is now an activist for dinosaur rights.
Dinosaur rights.
Yes, and she's lobbying Congress from a tool shed or something, because apparently all that money that she made working in the world's most amazing theme park is just gone, and she could afford to hire like 20 assistants, but she couldn't find any funding for anything from anyone. I don't know. There were like 30 people working in this little tin box that she had put together to save dinosaurs, and I got the feeling that they were all like special needs people that were just making picket posters that said "Save the dinosaurs."
Well, okay, so we already know that she's a dinosaur rights activist, which means she doesn't have her priorities straight. So maybe it's just an issue of hiring versus real estate expenditures.
Yeah,
and she doesn't have her priorities straight.
Yeah, she for all I know, she wasted all of her money already. Anyway, she's trying to get people in Congress or whatever, some politicians to do something about this. It's like, we need to rescue the dinosaurs, and I don't know what her plan was beyond that, but they end up finding someone who's willing to help them. They put together something. They're going to rescue the dinosaurs, put them on another island, and then they could be free to do whatever it is that dinosaurs do when they're bored. They send in a team that's like, we're gonna say quote unquote highly trained to deal with these creatures, and they get.
Now, does your quote unquote have a deeper meaning?
Generally speaking, quote unquote usually implies that everything within the quotes is not, in a lot of cases, even close to what is actually going on.
However, since you say quote unquote, there actually is nothing between the quote and unquote.
This is true. That's a good observation.
You're asking for context from me, and I am deliberately avoiding it because it makes it funnier for me.
Well, if I give you the quote unquote, then you get to pick which word I was putting in quote, which word or phrase I was putting in quote.
So good point. Good point.
So technically, we're not spoiling everything.
Quote unquote everything.
Quote unquote. So they get this woman to go to the island with this team, and it's really weird how everything comes together after that, because you know that there's a bad guy somewhere.
Yes.
But they present it as, okay, this team of trained professionals is going to go in with this woman who is the only reason that she is going to the island with them is because they can't track the dinosaurs unless someone turns on the trackers, which apparently you can only do at the center that is on the island. So they have to send her in. She has to do like a biometric handprint, which means that she's the only person in the world that can do this, which makes me wonder who set up this weird in-house security tracking system that can only be turned on and off by one individual. Like, what if that individual gets eaten by a dinosaur while the tracking system is off?
I believe we've established this already, but she may not have had her priorities straight when she set up the system.
I don't think she set up the system, though. There was this really weird...
Well, that doesn't make any sense, because she's the person that has to open it, but she didn't set it up?
Yeah. It's
how?
Really bad.
And
the worst part was, it wasn't even up to her to turn it on and off. They needed her biometrics to open one door so that a hacker could go with them and turn it on and off or something. Or maybe I got that backwards. Maybe it was...
But, okay, so here's a question for you.
It was the hacker that opened the door. Okay, it was the hacker that opened the door.
That's odd.
Then she had to... For some reason, she had the biometric control to turn on a tracker, but not to get in the door.
Well, no, but how did they get her biometric data to put it in so that she has to unlock the thing?
Well, she used to run the park.
But she didn't... But it's... Even if she ran the park, it doesn't sound like she'd be the person who does this thing.
Listen, there's only one person... There's only one person on the board of directors at Apple that has the ability to turn on and off their security systems in every building they own.
I will take your word for that.
Quote unquote.
Quote unquote.
So, what are the problems we see here? Putting that one aside, that horrendous problem aside.
The big one.
The big problem is, why did they build this park on an island with an active volcano that may have exploded? It only would have been 3 years after the park was functioning and running that this happened.
Yeah.
So, was nobody looking at this and saying, hey, we've got some underground activity I just thought I'd bring to your attention?
Seismic, volcanic
$1 billion
activity.
Theme park. Creatures that don't exist anywhere else in the world.
Maybe their patent ran out when they expected the next eruption to happen.
That's amazing. That would be the greatest whatever in the entire history of theme parks.
If we don't have a full monopoly on dinosaurs, no one will.
Screw them.
Oh, that's funny. Oh, jeez.
So we are now 24 minutes in. Let's get back to the brachiosaur scene. So
we're not going to finish anything other than the brachiosaur scene, I think. No, we finished the brachiosaur scene. We're at the putting your hand on the thing, the biometric scene.
No. That was just setting up to explain how dumb it is that they're even there doing any of this. So this woman has seen these dinosaurs,
Yes.
Okay, she has the keys, literally, to the kingdom.
Yes.
Not even quote-unquote to the kingdom. We're talking, those are her... She is the key, and the key is her. And they bring her to the island. They're in a big Land Rover, and they're all packed in the back like some kind of military envoy, which it is. Mm-hmm. And they pull up to the visitor center, whatever it is, which, by the way, guess which building they built, not just right next to, but also partially inside of the active volcano?
The gift shop.
Yeah. No, it's the building they need to go in.
Oh. Inside they used the volcano as part of its structure.
Yes.
Brilliant.
Geothermal, baby.
I mean, it is clean, renewable power. Maybe that's why it's about to. Maybe that's why the volcano is about to explode, because they haven't been using the geothermal power.
It's a good point. Maybe they should have just kept the park running.
I mean,
we're venting.
What's the alternative? The alternative seems to be to have an island full of feral dinosaurs.
Well, I mean,
is that better or worse than having a well-tended park full of dinosaurs?
According to this movie, that's better. But then, to be fair, according to the second movie, that was better too.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, even though farming is a thing that produces enough.
I'm just thinking about like the possibility that like one of those dinosaurs gets on some sort of like
Twitter, like it gets on Twitter.
No, not like Twitter. I mean, that would be bad too. But I'm thinking more along the lines of like some driftwood washes up, and the dinosaur gets on the driftwood, and the driftwood takes it to like Los Angeles, and then they're like
it surfs to Los Angeles. It literally does exactly like it sees Kurt Russell coming the other way.
Yeah, and like there's surf music going on in the background. But like, I'm just imagining that like not keeping an eye on the dinosaurs is probably a worse idea than keeping an eye on the dinosaurs, just because.
Well, they inexplicably turned off all the trackers. I mean, they're just like RFID chips. It's not like
that's dumb too. Well, they might have batteries. Like maybe, I hope maybe, but like if you don't, how do the dinosaurs that have been born since? Because this was the problem that happened in the first movie, was that the dinosaurs were reproducing and they didn't realize it. So like even if they had trackers on the original dinosaurs, the new dinosaurs didn't have trackers. How did they prevent that from happening with these dinosaurs?
Well, the movie clearly doesn't care because the trackers were turned off. I mean that they don't address that in any way.
No, but I'm just illuminating a particularly weird plot hole. At least it seems like it to me.
There's so many that it's not even worth going over every single one. But yeah, no,
well, we'll ruin our suspension of disbelief if we go over all the plot holes.
I mean, at what point, when they were abandoning the park because the dinosaurs were running loose and eating everyone, at what point did she like wander into that building and say, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to turn off all the trackers. That's what we need to do before we leave this island. Like when did she do that? You didn't see that in the first movie.
Yeah. Huh.
Okay. I mean, the whole movie is premised around we're not talking about the Brachiosaur again. My God.
No, we're not. We're done with the Brachiosaur.
No, it's important, so I have to tell you about it.
Okay, let's go through it.
But the whole movie does hinge on the fact that they need to bring her to the island to do this, and
yes,
it just seems weird that should be.
That seems weird on multiple levels. We agree.
Yeah. So they pull up. They're in the truck, and this one girl who describes herself as a paleo-veterinarian, which is a thing in a world with dinosaurs, except that she's never been to the park. She's never touched a dinosaur, and yet she is a certified paleo-veterinarian.
Well, maybe like the University of Phoenix or something like that.
I mean, that's all I could think of. But she seemed to have no trouble doing surgery on a velociraptor. We'll get to that. But anyway,
she's done the math.
Oh, by the way, because I'm sure that the people that like want to defend this movie in any way whatsoever, I'm sure that this is their favorite character, I'm going to go ahead and say it. She's the stupidest character in the movie, and I hate her, and I wish she would have died. I'm all right with that. She really gave nothing to the movie, and pretty much every problem in the movie can be traced back to her.
Does she realize that when the animals are brought back to life based on DNA and cloning technology that they're no longer paleo.
The movie
she doesn't understand.
The movie didn't realize that at all.
I just don't like. It would have been better if she had been like a herpetologist or something like that.
Yeah,
then she would at least study lizards, or like a bird veterinarian, or however they want to. Are the dinosaurs all feathered now?
No, they're not.
Okay.
No, her character is so weird. There's like, she's a paleo veterinarian, and we're supposed to
stop saying that. It's not a real thing. Don't engage.
Suspension of disbelief, man.
We can't. We will break our suspension of disbelief if we run over all of these plot holes.
This movie broke my suspension of disbelief in the opening scene.
Well, you just need coilovers or something.
No, but this character, we're supposed to believe this about her, that she's got this certified training to do things that go so far as to, like, do blood transfusions on dinosaurs, which I'll get to that. But
okay.
At the same time, we're introduced to her as someone who is working in the tin can activist outfit. What is she doing there?
She's learning to paleo veterinate.
No, she's learning to activist, and yet she has time to become an expert in. She's like 18. She's like 18 or 19. She looks like a freshman college student.
So she's like a
no. To be fair, I think she was Asian, so maybe she was 40.
40 or 50.
Yeah, but she looked about.
So question for you: is she like? Is she covered by like a cloak of invulnerability throughout the whole of the movie?
I think she sustained an injury in the movie somewhere.
Was it debilitating, or was it just for show?
It was just for show.
So she has basically a cloak of invulnerability over the whole.
Yeah.
So she's Rey, only in Jurassic World.
No, not that bad.
Okay, well
she's the character that the movie really wants you to like because she's a young activist that is willing to stand up and fight for dinosaur rights.
Mm-hmm.
And she's just despicable. She's probably the most despicable human being in the entire movie. And
nice.
And they didn't even introduce the bad guys yet.
Yeah.
She's the one that says, "I've got to see this." And at that point, you don't know what she's really talking about. But they all get out of the Land Rover for no reason to watch a brachiosaur walk by in front of the control center that they're trying to get into. And it plays the same music from the original movie from the first time.
Are you shitting me?
No, I'm not.
Oh my god.
It plays the same music. It's almost the exact same walking pattern, and the timing of the noise the brachiosaur makes is exactly the same.
That's horrifying.
But the CG artists wanted to be like, hey, check out this cool thing we can do. And so as it was walking by, its foot hit a rock and the rock skittered away. Like, check it out. It's part of the world that it's in. We've made it more realistic. And it was just like I was crying on the inside when I saw them trying to recreate that scene. And then when it kicked the rock for no reason, I was just like, why did you do that?
I thought that most of the dinosaurs in the original Jurassic Park were animatronics, extremely detailed animatronics.
Well, I mean, there was a lot of computer work too.
Was there?
Yeah.
I thought that was one of the forward points of the first Jurassic Park was that it was almost no CG.
I don't think they did that brachiosaur scene without CG.
I don't know. It's been a long time since I've seen it. I mean, but you may be right.
Well, you can kind of tell because
right.
the CG doesn't always age well. Like in the second movie, you can definitely tell that it hasn't aged well. I think that the computer graphics were better in the first movie than they were in the second.
That's possible. It probably had a larger budget.
And yet somehow these dinosaurs looked more real than the ones in Lost World. Because the whole point of the dinosaurs in Lost World was to say, check it out, we can put dinosaurs on the screen in large numbers in a lot of like muddled action so you can't see really what's going on. So there's that mess. And like everyone is just standing outside of the Jeep looking up at the dinosaur like a bunch of retarded mouth breathers. There's like no real emotion in any of their faces. I think
it's a dinosaur.
I think the vet girl was like breathing heavily, but that might have just been because she was choking on her own sense of self-satisfaction.
It's possible.
and then it walks by, and can you please explain to me why the person who ran the park full of dinosaurs was so astounded to see a dinosaur?
Maybe she forgot. It's the best I got.
I just don't get. And then she looked a lot different in this movie. Like they tried to make her look like some kind of space alien sci-fi woman in the first movie, and then in this movie they tried to make her look like Ellie Sattler for some reason.
Like, you say for some reason, but I kind of know what the reason is.
Well, given the scene I just described, yes. So,
yes.
So you're starting to catch on to the modus operandi here.
Yes.
So that's not the first time they try to recreate scenes, and every single time it almost feels like how they completely murder the character of Luke Skywalker. They're doing that with dinosaurs in this movie.
They're doing it with an entire species.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead
one that no longer exists.
Anyone that can get me to hate dinosaurs, that is true evil.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So I'm going to jump ahead almost to the end of the movie here.
Okay.
To give you the most egregious example of them copying a scene. And here I use egregious in the pejorative.
Egregious is always pejorative.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, egregious is always pejorative.
It can mean outstanding in one way or another, which is the quote that I love to use to describe that word.
I've never heard it be used non-egregious, pejoratively.
Fair enough.
And I think that if someone used it non-pejoratively, I'd be like, you know the connotations of that word, right?
So, the Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Yeah.
The linchpin of all the dinosaurs of the movie. The one dinosaur that always tends to bring the other movies together. There's always some big Tyrannosaurus scene, and that's the scene that you're supposed to get right.
Sure.
And Jurassic Park, the first, got the Tyrannosaurus scenes right every time, without fail. They were all good scenes. From the first time you see that arm dragging along the fence, to when you see it battling two velociraptors and basically kind of saving everyone's lives without meaning to. At the end of the movie, they need to have a guy die.
Wait, why?
Because he's one of the bad guys, and everyone wants the dinosaurs to get him. That's it. That's
okay.
the only reason.
What a horrible shoehorn plot point.
And so he's trying to run away with. Okay, so you never saw the first Lost World. Part of the first movie.
You mean
Jurassic World? Yeah, I'm not going to be able to stop doing that.
That's fine.
Part of the plot of that movie was that they had actually mixed the DNA of different creatures to create a new dinosaur. So
okay.
It went much further into the realm of science fiction than the other Jurassic Parks.
Okay.
They created something that they called the Indominus Rex. I don't remember what it was a combination of. Pretty sure it was T-Rex and Velociraptor, something like that. Yeah, I mean, I'm just guessing here because I really don't remember. But if they were going to combine two,
they weren't going to make it like some obscure dinosaur. Why would they do that?
All dinosaurs are obscure.
Some are more obscure than others.
This is true. And they did that a lot in this movie, actually. They brought in a lot of dinosaurs that, like, they used ones that you might have known, but then they used alternate versions of them that weren't in the textbooks as much.
Right.
I think there was a dinosaur that looked like the Pachycephalosaurus, and I don't remember what they were calling it, but it wasn't that. It was like the off-brand.
The Hydrox of Pachycephalosaurus?
Yeah, kind of like how the Allosaurus is an offshoot brand of the Tyrannosaurus, even though they're not. I don't think they're really all that related. I think they were from different time periods.
Yeah.
They had an Allosaurus in the movie, actually.
Okay, that's cool.
For 2 seconds and didn't really do anything with it. Okay, so this movie did that whole thing where it's like it became less important for you to understand the dinosaurs than it was for them to try and give you as many dinosaurs on screen at once as they possibly could.
So it was the Dead Rising of dinosaur movies.
Yeah. Like, almost in every scene that they wanted to have dinosaurs in.
We need to shoehorn in a shit ton of them.
Yeah. I mean, there was a scene where they were running from an exploding volcano, and it was just every dinosaur on the island must have been there running alongside them. And, it was predators and prey running next to each other but not attacking each other, and occasionally one of the predators would try to eat the humans but then run off anyway because, explosions.
Yeah.
But they had the Tyrannosaurus show up with this guy that's running off with the rib bone of the Indominus Rex, which they went into the ocean.
You keep saying it. I keep hearing it as like androgynous Rex.
That might be the next one, actually. They made a new dinosaur for this movie, too. They called it the Endoraptor. And I kept expecting it to have, like, a skeleton on the outside, but whatever.
But endo means on the inside.
Well, yeah, so it would have an exoskeleton on the outside, because the raptor is on the inside.
That's actually the point I was going to make if you didn't, yes.
Great minds think alike.
And then there's us.
Yes. Terrifying minds apparently also think alike.
Well, yes.
So they had recovered the bone sample of this dinosaur.
Right.
And I don't know, they never really said what they were going to do with it other than they were going to do something with the
they were
DNA.
going to clone. They were going to clone the dinosaur again.
Well, they were going to use its DNA to make a new dinosaur, which they had already apparently made, but they were trying to improve.
To make it into the ultimate weapon or something?
Yeah, wait until you hear this crap.
Oh boy.
That's where it's just like, if you could have possibly made it that far into the movie without a suspension of disbelief, it was kind of like you're almost at the finish line of a race.
Yeah.
And then 2 velociraptors grab the pole and run off with it. It's like, well, I'm not catching them. So he's like trying to escape with this bone, which is really weird because they don't really explain where he's going to take it, but whatever. Every dinosaur escapes for reasons that we can talk about later. Mm-hmm. And they all...
Wait, what do you mean escapes what? I thought they were already on an island untracked.
They're not on the island at this point.
Wait, what?
It gets really out of hand really quickly.
Oh my god.
But basically, it's another scene where they want to have 1,000 dinosaurs run past one guy who's hiding under a car. And this, I think, above everything else, this scene made me angrier than every other scene in the movie. It's just... Do you remember how the velociraptors were going to kill everyone in the first movie, and the Tyrannosaurus bursts onto the scene and just starts attacking them, and the velociraptors turn their attention to him instead, and it becomes this battle between 2 apex predators, and the fight goes on, the people escape, and in the background you get to see the last moments of the fight where the Tyrannosaurus wins and establishes, like all the kiddies want to see, that he is the king of predators, and that's the point,
Rex, if you will.
Yeah, the point of the scene is so that they can establish the dominance of the T-Rex for the audience and just say, here is the beast that we wanted to show you in its in its primal, most powerful.
It's not
setting.
just that, right? It's also that they're bringing closure to the movie. They're giving you one last wow right before the falling action begins.
Yes, they're laying it all on the line in one of the greatest dinosaur scenes of all time.
Yeah, and like didn't the banner like fall on it and stuff, and it was very cinematic.
Yeah, everything about it was just, they took their time, they took care, they wanted it to be a
pitch perfect.
Pitch perfect scene to watch, something that you would never forget, and
apparently neither of us has.
Yeah, and every time you went to see the movie again, or any time you ever watched it again, you'd be looking forward to it. You'd be like, all right, here it comes. No matter how many times you see it, you love it. So, in this movie, they wanted to recreate that scene.
Uh-huh.
There's a dinosaur...
Hold on just one second. I'm just going to make a point here that the reason we have nostalgia for things is because they were the first time that we saw something, and therefore attempts to recreate something that we have nostalgia for the purpose of eliciting nostalgia is, unless done perfectly, usually a failure. I'm just saying this to, like, mankind in general, to, like, figure it out.
Yeah, that's...
Like, give me something else that I can be nostalgic for again in 10 years.
Yeah, kind of, but, like, that's the thing about movies today, is, like, apparently nobody can write, nobody can direct anything original anymore. And they look at, it's like, it's not the same as when you see someone that has a product and you're like, that's a good product and people buy it. I bet I could make a similar product and get people to buy it. That's not what happens here. Maybe they're looking at it that way, but I don't even know how to describe it. It's like you can't take you can take a McDonald's hamburger and say, all right, you're going to be McDonald's, I'm going to be Burger King. You can do that.
Yeah.
And you can make a hamburger. You can just like they're making hamburgers, you can make hamburgers, and you can serve people the hamburgers.
Yes.
But it needs to be your hamburger. If it's not your hamburger, then why do I care about you? And this Tyrannosaurus Rex is not their hamburger. There was no attempt to make it theirs. That's it. They didn't acquire the knowledge for themselves. But by God, if they didn't patent it and package it, and now they're selling it.
Life finds a way?
No, it didn't. That's the whole point of the movie was that life couldn't find a way this time. That was the whole point of the movie.
Oh, that's depressing.
It really is, because like the idea
be hopeless.
The idea behind the movie was that the dinosaurs were doomed unless a convoy of military gentlemen showed up to take them to another island, because this island was going to explode. And I think they tried to keep the whole life finds a way thing in the movie by... Jeff Goldblum was in it again.
Of course.
For 2 seconds.
Of course.
He was sitting at a congressional hearing or something. I don't know. It didn't look like the halls of Congress to me. But he was at some kind of hearing where people were asking him what they should do with the island. And he was like, leave it alone.
Must go faster. Must go faster.
Well, that's what I was saying halfway through the movie. But he was telling them that they should just leave the dinosaurs there to whatever fate has in store for them.
Wait. Why would he say that?
Well,
like his whole character was that the dinosaurs are a force of nature that will defeat your expectations of its limits. That was his whole character in the first movie.
Well, I don't. He wasn't saying it in a way that was really detracting from that character. The way that they were having him say it was more like, should we interfere to rescue them? And his response. His response to that was, no, we shouldn't, for precisely that reason, because we've tried to control it before and it never worked before, and now you're trying to do it again by rescuing them.
Yes, and there will only be more mistakes made if you do that.
I think what he was trying to say is that dinosaurs had their chance.
That is true, technically, yes.
But getting back to the Tyrannosaurus scene.
Yes.
So they had another dinosaur that they had showed earlier in the movie. I don't even remember if they named it or not. They just had it there, and it was attacking. It was in the scene where they were running from the volcano. It was one of the predators that tried to attack the humans.
Okay.
And then it just shows up at the end to attack this guy that's trying to escape. Like, after all the other dinosaurs had run away, it was the one dinosaur left, and he crawls out from under the car, and the dinosaur is just there, and it goes to attack him. Right before it gets him, and the guy's screaming, the Tyrannosaurus bursts in from the side of the scene, and now it's like, how much more could they have done wrong just at that point? Because when they did it in the original movie, he was saving the lives of the heroes of the movie, of the characters you cared about. Yes. This was the bad guy of the movie.
And it was saving him.
Yes, and it saved him. But it only saved him. And here's the best part. It's like, it's not even like this glorious battle between two predators. The Tyrannosaurus literally jumps in the scene for a second, nips at this other dinosaur, and then headbutts it, and that dinosaur runs away. And then the Tyrannosaurus eats the bad guy.
Oh.
So it's like, the movie was trying to tell me, no, this guy is so bad, he's not even good enough to lose to this lesser predator. He has to be eaten by the big bad guy himself. So the Tyrannosaurus kills this guy. And then, after he does that, almost to the pixel width of the screenshot that they used for the Tyrannosaurus pose at the end of the original, the Tyrannosaur does the same thing. The exact same pose, the same little tail curl at the end and everything.
Yeah. Wow.
To the same music, and roars the exact same roar, just standing by itself outside of this mansion that it had been in. And
does a banner fall on it?
No, there's no banner.
Then this is clearly a completely original scene.
Oh yeah, clearly. No, I mean, like, you could have pasted the original one over this, and it would have been the exact same movement.
In fact, if you search on YouTube, someone probably has.
Yes. The only difference is we have wider screens now, so there was like more stuff off to the left and right, which didn't matter because it was all like shrubbery. I mean, this dinosaur was just... I couldn't even figure out how the Tyrannosaurus had escaped from where it was, because it seemed like they had it on lockdown pretty well. Plus, it should have been... Alright, let me lay some stupid on you.
Okay.
You find out in the movie that the little girl that is staying with this guy that was apparently one of the startup friends of John Hammond for the InGen Corporation... Well, his daughter had died, and during the process of them making these dinosaurs, he realized that he could bring his daughter back. So there's a little girl in the movie that is just a clone of his daughter. And the reason that these dinosaurs all get out and apparently are going to run off into the cities at the end of the movie is because this little girl presses a button that's holding them all in a gas chamber that will kill them all. And she says, well, they're just like me, so I have to set them free.
Oh. Huh. I guess... Huh. That sounds like great plot work there.
She had just spent 15 minutes running for her life from the murder raptor that they had created. Oh my god.
And now she's like, oh, they have to be free. They have to be free now.
Oh my god, I'm just now realizing how much more there is to go over in this horrible movie.
Oh, good god.
Okay, so...
That's alright. I guess we haven't had a really long episode in a while.
Yeah, no, that's fine. It's just... My headache is... I need to take a sip of tea here. Let's just go over it. Okay, I can do this.
You can do this.
I will survive. Life finds a way to annoy me.